If you own a bike, then at some point you'll probably need to replace an inner tube. Size information is displayed on the side of the tire. The first number is the diameter. The second number is the width. These are typically measured in inches, but some will show sizing in millimeters. The one with PSI after it is the recommended maximum tire pressure, which is measured in pounds per square inch. You must select a tube with exactly the same diameter as that displayed on your tire. For width, most tubes will come in a range such as this. So long as the size on your tire fits within this range, you're good to go. The two main types of valves are Presta valves and Schrader valves. Presta valves look like this and feature a locking mechanism that must be loosened before attaching a pump. Schrader valves are the same as you find on a car and generally show up on older bikes and kids' bikes. They have a simple pin mechanism for adding and releasing air. Some pumps work with both valves, but many do not. Check the valve on your old tube and buy a matching replacement if you want to keep things simple. If you have a bike stand, then great. If you don't, lay a towel or blanket on the ground and flip your bike upside down. The blanket will protect your seat and handlebars. Now, you'll need to release the brakes. Road bikes often have a release lever. For cantilever and linear pull brakes, squeeze the calipers together and free the brake cable. Disc brakes are fixed and won't need releasing. Note, if you have hydraulic brakes, then avoid touching the lever or the calipers once the wheel has been removed. Doing so may cause the brakes to seize up. For the front, undo the quick release, loosen the adjusting nut, and slide the wheel from the dropouts. You may also need to slide the axle out to remove the wheel. For the rear, shift the chain onto the smallest cog by rotating the pedals and shifting through the gears. Undo the quick release and adjusting nut, and then move the derailleur out of the way to remove the wheel. Installing your new tube will be much easier with a pair of tire levers. Start on the opposite side of the tire to the valve. Insert a tire lever beneath the bead of the tire. Insert a second lever about 6 inches from the first. Push down on the levers and the tire will pop out from the rim. Now work around the tire until it's free from the wheel. Next, push the valve through the wheel. If there's a locking nut, then remove that first. Once clear, pull the tube from the wheel. Before moving on, it's important to check the tire thoroughly for objects such as thorns or metal screws that may have caused the puncture. Next, take your new tube, remove the dust cap. If there's a locking nut, then remove that too, and inflate slightly so that it holds its shape. Now push the valve into the hole in the rim, and then work around the wheel, tucking the tube into the well of the rim. Now hold the wheel at your feet and push the bead of the tire into the rim. Work around the tire. For the last section, use one or more tire levers. Place it carefully under the bead of the tire and take care not to snag the inner tube. Now check the tire to make sure it is fully seated in the rim and that the tube isn't sticking out at all. Inflate the tire to the recommended PSI. If your tube has a Presta valve, you'll need to loosen the head before attaching a pump. Line up the tread of the tire in the right direction, then slide the wheel into the dropout. For the back, you'll need to lift the derailleur out of the way. To tighten, hold the quick release and tighten the adjusting nut. You'll know it's tight enough when you feel resistance with the lever halfway closed. Position the front lever so it points towards the rear of the fork, and the back lever so it lines up between the chain and the seat stay. Disc brakes are the exception here. For the front, the lever should face the front of the fork and the back should sit just below the chainstay. It's important to make sure levers are not touching any other parts, as this could prevent them from locking. Now, reattach the brakes and give them a squeeze to make sure they are working properly. Before you ride, lift the wheel from the ground and give it a solid thump to make sure it's firmly attached. Then go for a short test ride to make sure the brakes are working and everything feels right. If you need bike parts or advice, then visit mec.ca or come into your local MEC and speak to one of our qualified bike technicians.